Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel, Diary of a Mind Alchemist. This message is going to be on how to let go, using mind alchemy to let go of a relationship. I think that this is an important topic to speak on. Because it's going to help people to be able to move on with their lives. And I hope that what I share in this message will help people who may have a problem with moving on, may be fearful of letting go of a specific person in their life. It can be difficult for people to let go of things in their lives. You know, as humans, we're creatures of habit, and we become attached to things over time. And most of us don't like change. Like I said, we're creatures of habit, and we become comfortable with things being the same. And there comes a fear of change, fear of the unknown. You know, any change that happens in our lives, most of the time we don't want that change, unless it's something good, of course. And then sometimes we can be fearful of that. But we fear change because we fear the unknown. Even if what's changing in our lives is something good, it can be fearful because you've become so used to what is toxic that, you know, it's like, I know what to expect in this situation, but I don't know what to expect with this change. So I'd rather hold on to something that I know I probably shouldn't be holding on to, you know, just because I've become comfortable with it. And I don't know what to expect in this new situation. But regardless of what it is, the root cause of people wanting to hold on is fear. You know, fear of change, fear of the unknown. And in particular, when dealing with relationships, letting go of relationships, it could be fear of loss, fear of losing stability. Maybe you are dependent on this person financially. You know, this person is taking care of you. They're giving you a roof over your head. They're giving you, money. They're taking care of you financially. And so this person doesn't want to be with you anymore. Now you have to worry about how you're going to be able to take care of yourself. And so you want to hold on to the relationship for that reason. You know, it could also be codependency, you know, relying on this person for your own sense of worth. Maybe you value this person more than you value yourself, and you see not having this person anymore as you see it as something that takes away your own self-worth, because your self-worth came from being in a relationship with this person. And now that this person no longer wants to be in the relationship, your sense of self-worth diminishes. or just goes away completely because you didn't have an identity within yourself. Your identity was based on this relationship. So now it's over and now you feel empty because you placed, you've given that person a place that only God should have had in your life. You've basically made that person your God. And so that when that person leaves, that you no longer have a sense of worth. You're like your life no longer has meaning and purpose. You could be fearful of abandonment. Maybe you have abandonment issues from childhood or just throughout life. You know, you've had people leave that you really cared about, and that's caused you to have abandonment issues. And so you're fearful of the loss of this relationship because it opens up that wound from the past of when people abandoned you. You know, and you don't want to go through that pain again. So you fear the loss of this relationship because of that. There's many reasons that people fear losing a person in a relationship and fear the loss of things in general. I think I'm going to make this message on relationships rather than things in general, because I might do another video on just the loss of other things. I really want to focus on relationships with people because I think there's a need for people to learn how to let go. A lot of people, you know, a lot of the problems that happen, you know, with people, especially people who are into this negative magic, you know, they resort to these things because they have this fear of letting go. You know, you have people who cause a lot of problems in people's lives, you know, with their toxic behaviors because they're not healed from the loss of the relationship, and they're also unable to let go and to move on. They don't know how to. So I'm hoping that I can help people like this to learn how to let go. So let's get into it. All right. So the art of letting go is a mental thing. In fact, everything is mental. Everything starts with the mind. So if you can get your mind right, then everything else will follow. And understanding that life in general is about change. That's the only thing that is consistent in life is change. Nothing in life is meant to stay the same. Every single thing in life changes. Everything. And if you can understand that, then it might make it a little easier to let go, that we have seasons. You can look at nature as an example. We have fall, winter, spring, and summer. Nature does not stay the same. It is constantly changing from one season to another. And in life, we have the same thing. We go through different seasons in life. We have seasons where things are going well. We have seasons where things are not going so well. And then we have seasons where it's a little bit of both. But nothing stays the same. You have the rise of nations, the fall of nations. You have all of these different polarities, and that is part of the law of polarity, these changes, these opposites, and also the law of rhythm, the fluctuation of energies. You have, your highs and your lows, like I said, the rise of nations, the fall of nations, these highs and lows of life. And that's just the way it is. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. That's the way it is. You either accept it or reject it. Either way, it's not going to change anything. That's the way the divine has set up, this reality. And it'll be a lot easier if you just flow with it and accept things for the way that they are. Change is absolute in this reality. That that's the only thing that you can rely on, and that needs to be understood. You have seasons in relationships. Not all relationships are meant to last forever. And that is a very important thing to accept, is that, all relationships are not meant to last forever. Most aren't. They have their expiration date, and you have to be able to accept when that expiration date has come and be able to move on. Some people are in our lives for a season, and there is a reason for that. Some people came into our lives. Well, I'm not going to say some people. All people come into our lives to teach us something about ourselves. So, regardless of how long that relationship has been, whether it's been a few months, a few weeks, a few years, it could have been over a decade. And now the relationship has, taken its course. It's time to move on. That relationship wasn't a waste. It wasn't in vain. Some people think, well, I've dedicated my life. I put all my energy and time and money and blah, blah, blah into this relationship, and for it to be over. And then they feel like, they don't want to let go because of all of that. They put so much into it, and they feel like, to just let it go would mean that it was just a waste of all of those years. And no, it's not. There was a lesson that you were supposed to learn in that relationship about yourself. learn what the lesson is, and then move on. See that person as your teacher. Yeah, we can point the finger at the other person all we want. But the lesson is not in through that person. That person has their own lesson to learn from being in a relationship with you. The lessons that we learn are always about us, because this life is about us. It's not about other people. It's about us. It's about learning, growing, evolving, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. So don't point the finger at that other person and what they did, or, just being upset about the relationship ending. Focus on what lesson or lessons you can learn about yourself through that experience. What did being in that relationship help you learn about yourself? And that can be difficult because the ego never wants to feel as though they're responsible for anything. Let's say the relationship was toxic. Okay. Let's say that you were in a relationship with someone that cheated on you, and then they decided they didn't want to be with you anymore. They decided that they want to be with the person that they were cheating on you with. And you were with this person for years, and maybe you have a family with them and stuff, and you're like, maybe you guys were married or just like living together for a long time. And that person was like, okay, I'm out. And because you have, spent so many years with that person, and you guys may have assets together or whatever, you have children, blah blah blah, and you're like, I'm not gonna let you go out of my life, and you want to hold on to this person. But instead of thinking about the years that you've invested in blah blah blah, think about, okay, what can I learn about myself through this experience? What has caused me to stay in a relationship with someone that I knew was cheating on me, that I knew was not treating me the way that I deserved to be treated? Why did I allow myself to stay in this relationship? Why didn't I love myself enough to end the relationship? See, it's always about you. We stay in relationships that we shouldn't, mainly because of our own lack of self-esteem. When you feel as though you deserve the best, you're not going to tolerate toxicity. And a lot of people tolerate toxicity. A lot of people don't see themselves as being worthy of true love. And actually, if a person, that was healthy came into their lives, they wouldn't know how to deal with them because they're toxic and they're so used to, dealing with toxicity that they wouldn't even be able to have a healthy relationship with someone that is healthy. They would self-sabotage it. They would, mess it up. So ask yourself why. Why do I want to hold on to this relationship? Why do you want to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't want to be with you? Like, really, that's actually the question that you should be asking. Why do I want to stay with someone that doesn't want me anymore? Like, really? Ask yourself that. Why do you want to stay with someone that doesn't want to be with you? Do you not love and value yourself enough to let someone go and say, okay, well, if this person doesn't want to be with me, I'm not holding them hostage. I'm going to let them go and I'm going to move on with my life because I deserve someone that wants me as much as I want them. And then you move on. And when we say we can't let go because we love them, that's a lie. Because if you really love a person, you would let them go and move on with their lives, even if they end up being with someone else. If you really love a person, you want them to be happy, even if it's not with you. That's real love. Ego-based love is not real love. Like, if you don't want to be with me, I'm gonna make sure that nobody wants you. If I can't be with you, then I'm gonna make sure nobody's with you. That's mental illness. That's mental illness, and that's not healthy, and you need to get some help if you're thinking like that. That's very selfish, and you need healing. And I'm not, trying to be offensive, but I'm just being honest. You need to heal. You need to get some therapy, talk to someone to help you to heal, because that's not healthy. No, it doesn't feel good to have someone break up with you. It never feels good to end a relationship. But if your ego is so bruised that you want to harm that person, if you know what I'm saying, you want to harm that person because they don't want to be with you anymore, that's a mental issue, and you need to get some help for that. Okay. Yeah. Letting go, it's difficult. Your emotions are involved, but you have to understand that nothing lasts forever. There's an expiration date for everything, even our own lives. At some point, we're going to expire. And we're going to have to move out of the physical realm. Okay, so understanding that the only thing that is constant in this life is change. And being able to accept that is going to help you to let go. Being attached to a person is going to be detrimental to yourself. When we get into relationships with people, we have to understand that people are not objects to be possessed. They are not possessions. These are individuals with thoughts, feelings. You know, they have their own identities. They're not objects to be possessed. And when you're in a relationship with a person, you know how we say, this is my man, my woman, you know. We say it with this air of possession as if we own that person, which is very ego-based. We don't own anybody, not even our children. You know, people should not be seen in that way. It's like slaves that we own. And if you can look at your partner as not as someone that you own, but someone that is lending you their energy. You're borrowing this person. They are allowing you to be a part of their life for a specific amount of time. And so you live in the now. You enjoy that time, not focusing or worrying about how long it's going to be. And when that expiration date comes, if it does come, you appreciate the time that you had. You know, if it was a healthy relationship, you appreciate the time that you had, and you know, you move on. If it was toxic, be thankful. If it was toxic, you should have ended that yourself, you know, but be thankful that the other person ended it, and learn the lesson that you needed to learn about yourself from being in the toxic relationship in the first place, and then move on. Let them go. You know, yeah, that's the mentality that you should have. Don't see your partner as a possession. Don't see that person as your anything. My man, my woman. Stop looking at people that you're in relationships in as possessions, and then it will be easier to let them go. You know, when you feel as if you own something that it's yours, then of course you don't want to let it go because you feel like you're giving away something that belongs to you, or you're getting rid of or letting go of something that belongs to you. So don't look at your partner or your friends as possessions. See them as individuals who you have been blessed to, enjoy the company of for a specific amount of time. And when that time comes to let go and move on, you can, because you realize, okay, it's time to move on. If that person doesn't want to be friends anymore, you can move on and be like, okay, well, I guess we're just not in alignment anymore. So, I'm thankful for the time that I had with this person, and I release them in love. And I hope that they, are able to, find friends that are more in alignment with them. Or, if it's a romantic relationship, I hope that this person finds someone that is in alignment with them. Because sometimes in relationships, that happens. You may start out, doesn't always have to be toxic. Sometimes you may start out in alignment with each other. You guys resonate with one another. You share a lot of things in common. And then as the relationship progresses, you start to lose things in common. One person is going in a different direction than the other person, and you guys are no longer compatible. And it may impact the relationship, start to impact the relationship in a negative way. And so the other person may be like, okay, well, I see that we're no longer compatible. We're moving in opposite directions, and decides to end the relationship. Healthy individuals, even though it may hurt to end that relationship, healthy individuals are able to release it and let go and move on. You have to be able to understand that everything in life has an expiration date, and that the only thing that is constant is change. And you have to be able to flow with the changes of life instead of, swimming upstream against the current. You have to be able to accept this change, even though it is not a change that you want. Respect the other person's decision and move on. Go through the process of healing. Don't try to jump into another relationship because you're still hurting and you're just going to, bring a lot of baggage into that relationship, which is unhealthy. Heal. Take the time to heal, because when a relationship ends, you have to go through a mourning process. It is a death. It's a loss. Just like you have to go through the mourning process of the loss of a loved one, you have to go through the process of, the loss of a relationship. That same process, and it takes time. And it can take, the length of time depends on the length of the relationship and the, emotions involved and all of that. So take the time. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to heal. The important thing is that you do heal and that you release that person. Release that energetic tie that you have to that person. Free yourself and allow that other person to be free from the relationship and move on. That's the healthy thing to do. And I know it's difficult, but it's the healthy thing to do. And if you can have that mentality of understanding that the only thing that is constant and absolute in this world is change, and that you don't own anyone. They are just lending you themselves for a period of time to enjoy the company of. And when that time is up, you can release that person and move on. I think the problem is we've been taught that relationships are supposed to last forever. That when you get into a relationship with someone, you're supposed to be with that person the rest of your life. And that's bullshit. It's not reality. It's not realistic. Because people change. And unless you are in a relationship where, you and that person both evolve together and go in the same direction, the likelihood of the relationship lasting is going to be very slim. Not to say that, you can't, but you both, it has to be the changes that are in the relationship have to be, those changes can't have an impact on your morals, your values, your desires. If they have an impact, a negative impact on that, then it's not going to work. It's going to be toxic, but if those changes are minor and have nothing to do with, your morality, your values, your desires, then, it can work. But sometimes those changes are drastic. It could be changes in beliefs. You could be someone who was religious at one time and now you're not religious. And now it causes a problem in the values, between you and that other person. So if you try to stay, it's probably not going to work unless you both are open-minded to each other's beliefs, which, can happen. But 9 times out of 10, it causes, conflict, and, that relationship is going to end. It could be so many reasons for people outgrowing one another, or, just the relationship ending. That has nothing to do with toxicity. But if you can see that person not as your property, not as someone that you own, but someone who has lended you their company to be with and to enjoy for a specific amount of time, then it'll be easier to let go when or if that relationship expires. Because you're not seeing that person as your possession. You're not seeing that person as someone that you own, like that person is your slave or something. A lot of we've been taught that relationships are supposed to be a lifetime, and when you're in a relationship, that is your person. So when you think like that, it gives you a sense of entitlement to that person. It gives you a sense of ownership, which is wrong. We should never feel as though we own anybody. You know, people are not slaves to be owned. We are divine beings who have come here, you know, on our journey of life to fulfill specific purposes. And on that journey, we come across certain people that are meant to teach us certain things. And some of those people are people that we end up being in romantic relationships with or in friendships with that were here to teach us something. They were karmic lessons. You know, they were here to teach us something, to help us to build our character. They were character building relationships. Those relationships were meant to make us aware of a certain aspect of ourselves that needed to grow, that we needed to get rid of, that we didn't know existed, that we needed to grow and learn from. Seeing people as not as your life, but additions. People who see them as being additions to your life. And they should be additions that are positive. They shouldn't be negative additions to your life. So these are people who are adding to something that you already have. So something good that you already have. You know, if it is a healthy relationship, they should be adding, obviously, something positive to your life. And that, because there's nothing in this world that is constant but change, there is a possibility that this relationship that I am enjoying may not last. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to enjoy this person as long as I have them, as long as they are a part of my life. And if that time comes when I have to let go, I let go in love. And I wish that person the best. You know, if it's a toxic relationship, you know, there's a lesson about myself that I need to learn, that I needed to learn from this experience. And I'm thankful for the experience. I'm taking the time to heal and learn from it so that I can build up my character and become a better person, so that I won't attract these type of relationships anymore. If it is a healthy relationship, you know, I'm going to learn the lessons that I needed to learn from the experience that I had with that person. Whatever they were there to teach me, I appreciate and I release them and let them go in love. And that is the mind alchemy. That's how you let go. You have to change your perspective and how you view people, the people that you're in relationships with, and how you view relationships in general. You know, if you can stop seeing the people that you are involved with as possessions and see them as people who are free and are there to temporarily, that the divine has given you, has lent you to experience life with for a specific period of time. And be willing to let that person go when that time comes. That is the healthy way. That is the healthy way to view relationships. And also understanding that people are free. They are free to make whatever decisions they want to make. And we have to respect that, even if it's not in agreement with what we want. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn how to let go and allow people to make the decisions that they feel is best for their lives, and get out of your ego, because your ego is the one that gets pissed off, if a relationship ends and wants to hold on. But you have to see things from a higher perspective, from the divine's perspective, and allow people to use their free will as they choose. And if a person no longer wants to be in relationship, you have to respect that. You can't make someone want you if they don't want to be with you anymore. You have to be okay with that and not take it personally, unless the reason why they're leaving is because of something wrong that you did, that you did, and that you need to own up to, and apologize for. If you did something wrong in a relationship and that's the reason why they're leaving you, you shouldn't get mad at the person for wanting to leave. That shows that, they value themselves and that they're not going to tolerate, mistreatment. And you have to go within and figure out what is going on with you that thinks it's okay to mistreat someone. If someone leaves you, let the lesson be, if you've done wrong to that person, let the lesson be to not mistreat people, to treat people the way that you want to be treated, and not get angry at the person that leaves you. Understand, like, okay, well, if that was me, if someone was doing that to me, would I want to stay? Take accountability for your actions and do the necessary work, to change that. You need to heal in certain areas of your life that are causing you to mistreat people. Then you need to do that work. Go to therapy if you need to, and do the necessary healing work to free you from that toxicity, so that you can have healthy relationships, so that you can be a healthy person and not be the cause of toxicity in relationships. That's going to take a lot of humility. But if you want to have healthy relationships and you want to have long-lasting relationships, and you know that you are the cause of the breakup, then you're going to have to do what you need to do, to work on yourself, and if it isn't your fault, regardless of whether it is or isn't, you have to respect a person's choice to end the relationship. Whether or not you feel it's fair, it doesn't matter. That person wants out, and you have to give that person that respect and allow them to make the choices that they feel is best for their life. And if they feel that ending the relationship with you is best for their life, you have to respect that. Take it as a L, not a loss, but a lesson, and move forward. Ask yourself, what can I learn about myself from this relationship? What is the ending of this relationship showing me about myself? What areas can I learn from the relationship that is going to help me to grow and become a better person? What areas in my life is this relationship helping me to see that that needs to be worked on? You know, look at it in from that perspective, and allow that person the freedom, because you don't own them. They're not your possession. They're free. So they are free to leave whether or not you think it's fair or not. You know, like I said earlier, nothing in this life is absolute but change. Change is something that should be expected. And, you know, sometimes relationships don't last forever. Most of the relationships that you encounter in your life are going to be that way, and you have to be able to accept that. You know, and if you have issues with letting go, it's probably because you have abandonment issues that need to be dealt with. You know, don't allow your ego to not hold you accountable. You know, be open and honest with yourself. Dig deep and find out why it's so difficult for you to let go. I mean, I'm not saying that it's easy. But if you find that letting go is like years of going by and you still can't let go of a person, you know, if it's starting to have a negative impact on your life, you know, there's a time where, like, when relationships end, like I said earlier, it's like a death. It is a death symbolically. It's a loss, and you have to heal, and you have to go through the grieving process, the same grieving process that you would go through, you know, with the death of a person. And if you haven't gone through that process, a lot of times it's going to have a very negative impact on you, and it's going to make it very difficult for you to be able to let go. You got to go through the healing process. That's very important. Don't break up with somebody, and don't if you going through the ending of a relationship, don't jump into another relationship. Go through the process of healing. That is so important. So important. Make sure, no matter how long it takes, make sure that you heal, because that's going to make it easier for you to let go. That's actually part of the healing process, is letting go. That's like the last step. Now you've healed. You've gone through, you've processed all of those emotions that you know, the pain and hurt and everything that you've experienced from the loss of that relationship. Now you're able finally to let go. You're able to free yourself from that energetic tie. You're able to cut it and move on, and you're able to free that person and allow them to move on with their lives. If you don't go through that healing process, you're going to be in distorted energy, and it can cause you to act out in very toxic ways, and we don't want that. You know, it's important to heal. So make sure that you do that. That's very important. And also remember that nothing in this life is permanent. Some relationships do last a lifetime, but most don't. And if you can see everyone that enters your life as a contractor, someone who's there for a specific purpose, to fulfill a specific purpose for a specific amount of time, or as a teacher, someone who is there to teach you a lesson about yourself, an aspect of yourself or aspects of yourself that you need to grow in and that you need to learn about, so that you can heal or so that you can build specific characteristics that the divine wants you to build within yourself. If you can see people like that, then it'll be a lot easier to let them go. And also, like I said, to be able to see people not as objects. This is not your man. This is not your woman. This is not your husband. This is not your wife. They are not possessions. These are not your friends. These are not your children. These are people that the divine has placed strategically in your life for the sole purpose of helping you to evolve, to develop character, to learn certain lessons, and to heal. That's what these people are for. If you can see them as that, then it is so much easier to be able to let them go. That they have served a purpose in your life. That the divine has placed these people in your life. The divine has lent these people to be in your life for a specific amount of time for you to enjoy. And that there will be an expiration date, or there might be an expiration date in that relationship. And when that expiration date arrives, you can be thankful for the experience, learn what you need to learn from it, and release and let that person go. And anybody that claims to love someone but refuses to let them go does not love them. If you cannot release a person when they are ready to move on and end the relationship, you don't love them. Because love does not hold on. True love releases. True love allows people to be free and to move on with their lives. A person that really loves someone is going to let that person go and is going to want that person to be happy, even if it's not with them. That's true love. If you refuse to let someone go and you refuse to allow them to move on with their lives, and you are interference in their, relationships, if you're constantly causing drama and, you just want to wreak hell in that person's life because you're angry and upset that that person doesn't want you anymore, that's not love. And you probably never loved that person. You just loved how that person made you feel. You loved the energy that that person gave you. But you didn't actually love the person, because if you really loved the person, you would want them to be happy, even if it wasn't with you. And that's a uppercut to the gut. I got a little tongue-tied here. That's an uppercut to the gut. Okay? I know that hurts. that hurts the ego. But we have to learn to live outside of the ego. We have to learn to allow our higher selves to rule over the ego instead of the ego ruling over us. We have to allow the divine aspect of ourself to rule and to control our ego and put our ego in a subordinate position so that we can have healthy relationships with others and have a healthy relationship within ourselves. I mentioned in this message about letting go of certain relationships, like mainly romantic relationships and friendships, but I also want to add family to those relationships, not just romantic and friendships, but also family. A lot of people have a problem with letting go of family because we have been taught that blood is thicker than water, and we have this sense of obligation. We have been raised to have this sense of obligation towards family, and a lot of us have been brainwashed into thinking that it's family over everything. No matter how toxic those people are, no matter, how unhealthy some of those familial relationships are, we feel because they are family, we have to tolerate this toxicity, and that's bullshit. And hopefully, I'm helping to free some people from their toxic families today by hearing this message. The only one that you're obligated to is yourself and God. That's it. You are not obligated to stay in any unhealthy relationship. And don't allow anyone to tell you that you have to stay in a toxic relationship if that relationship is a family family member. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's your parents. It doesn't matter if it's your own children. You are in no obligation to stay in a situation that is harmful towards you, towards your mind, towards your emotions, towards your well-being, just because these people share your DNA. If you have toxic relationships in your family, it doesn't matter who it is. You owe it to yourself to let go. You owe it to yourself to let go. You have to free your mind from these conditionings that you have been raised to and conditioned to believe as truth. This is a difficult one for many people. And it's hard to, these type of relationships are the hardest to let go of because of this conditioning. But we have to get out of this mentality of seeing people in an egotistical way. Like I was saying earlier, you don't own anybody and they don't own you. People are not possessions. Our families are not our possessions, and we are not theirs. We don't own anyone. This is just my view. And hopefully, maybe this view will free somebody out there. I'm sharing my truth. I'm not saying this is absolute. It's just absolute to me. It's my truth. It's my one of my it's one of the ways that I view the world that has liberated me. And I hope that someone who's listening to this that may have issues with letting go of their family that they know is toxic and they need to let go of, hopefully maybe this will resonate with you and will help you. Okay. I see the people in my family and just people in general. I see these people as characters that are playing a role in my life for this incarnation. I don't see myself as being absolutely this person that I am right now. I am playing a role. I am playing a character in this life. You know, who I am, who I truly am, is not this character. My true self is eternal. It is divine. It is from the divine. It comes from God, my true nature, my true self. And this eternal aspect of me has been here on this planet many, many times as many different people. And so who I am in this lifetime is nothing more than a character or a role that I am playing. And these people that are placed into my life are characters in my story, and they have a role to play. Some people's roles are longer than others. Some people's roles are very short. Some people's roles are longer. But nonetheless, they are playing the roles. You know, they're playing characters in my reality. And so I don't see my family as my family. I see them as characters that are playing the role of family. They played the role of family in my life. They served a certain purpose in my life, and they fulfilled that purpose. And so now they're no longer needed. The people that I no longer associate with, those family members that are no longer in my life, they fulfill their role. They are no longer a part of my reality. And I was able to let go of those toxic relationships because I understood that my well-being is more important than anything and anyone. And I know what I deserve. And it doesn't matter what title those people played in my life. They are not God. God is God. And they do not have power over me. I do not owe them anything. Titles and in relationships do not make it okay to be abusive to someone. Okay? No one has the right, because of a so-called title that they hold in your life as a family member or any other type of relationship in your life. No title gives any person the right to mistreat you. Period. If you can understand that, just because somebody's your parents doesn't mean they have the right to mistreat you. Just because someone is a sibling does not give them the right to mistreat you. Just because someone is your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, whatever, grandparents, whatever that title is, it does not give them the authority or the right to mistreat you. Understand that and know that. God does not give a damn what title a person holds in your life. They do not have the right to mistreat you, regardless of their title. And they do not have the authority to mistreat you. There is only one ultimate authority in our lives, and that is God. And God would never mistreat us or give someone the authority to do that. When we are in abusive relationships, or when we are in unhealthy and toxic relationships, God will allow these things to happen. But it is not God's will for us to be harmed or mistreated in any way. There's always a lesson, even though we may not understand the purpose behind it. God will reveal everything in due time when we are ready to receive the purpose behind certain things that we experienced. Nothing happens without reason. Okay? Nothing happens without reason. Just because you may not understand the reason doesn't mean that there is not a reason for it. And God always works things together for our good. What other people meant for evil, God means for good. Know that. And know that God loves you, and God does not want you to be in any type of toxic relationship. It will use toxic relationships to help open your eyes to an aspect of yourself that needs to heal, that you may not have been aware of if you were not in that toxic relationship or those toxic relationships. God will always use these type of relationships as a mirror to show you yourself, to show you through the mistreatment, through the toxicity, how you view yourself. Because people will treat you the way you feel that you deserve to be treated. And once you start seeing yourself differently and start seeing the value within yourself, you'll notice that those relationships will fall off. And you will begin to attract people who will treat you better, because you're treating yourself better and you're seeing your own value and worth. So remember, you are not obligated to anyone but yourself and God. Any familial relationship, blood is not thicker than water, okay? Blood is not thicker than water. You are not obligated to stay in a toxic familial relationship just because of the title that that person holds. It doesn't matter what their title is. It doesn't matter if they're your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, whatever. Those titles do not give them the right to mistreat you, to abuse you. Please know that. And you have the right to end any relationship, regardless of the title that they hold. You have every right to end any toxic and abusive relationship. It doesn't matter what title that person holds in your family. These people are playing a role in your life. They are souls, or some of them. Some of them may not have any souls. Let me stop. They are souls having a human experience. If you can see the people in your life as people who are playing a role in your life, they have a certain purpose to fulfill. And when that purpose is fulfilled, then those relationships will end. Some of these relationships may last a lifetime. Some of these relationships will be temporary, but no relationship should ever last that is toxic. Once you realize, once you discover that the relationship that you are in, whether it's your family, your friends, or your lover, once you realize that the relationship is toxic, that is the moment that you have been awakened to the toxicity of the relationship. And you have an obligation to yourself to free yourself from that toxicity. You have no one to blame but yourself if you remain. Once you've been awakened to the fact that it's toxic and you still stay, It's your fault. Don't blame that other person, because you still chose to stay. Okay? So, to recap, understand that life is about change. Nothing is permanent. The only thing that's constant and absolute is change. People are not possessions for us to own. They have the right to end the relationship, whether it's a friendship, it doesn't matter. Friendship, family, whatever. Romantic relationship. If a person wants to end that relationship, they have every right, regardless of whether you feel it's right or not. People have free will, and we need to respect someone's free will to end a relationship if they want to. We have to heal, because ending relationships is hurtful. It is painful. So we need to heal. We need to do, the inner work. Treat it like mourning a death. You have to go through those processes. You can look up online the different stages that a person goes through when dealing with a death. It's the same thing that you go through, with any ending in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ending in a relationship. Any ending in your life is a death, symbolically. And so you're going to go through those same stages. So you can look that up online and see the different stages and allow yourself to go through those stages, as difficult as it may be. It's going to be painful, and it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to go, as long as you're doing things in a healthy way. You're allowing yourself to purge through these emotions, these thoughts, these emotions. You're allowing yourself to purge. That's part of the healing process. And you allow yourself to go through each stage. And once you are at that final stage, you're able to let go, and you can free that person and say, in your mind, I release this person. I allow them to be free and to move on. And I'm going to free myself and move on, because you're putting yourself in bondage. When you decide to hold on, you are putting yourself in bondage. You're energetically, attaching yourself to this person and energetically holding them back, which is not fair. And you're also holding yourself back. You're holding yourself back from healing. You're holding yourself back from moving on. You have a life to live. That person should not be your life. If you have made that person your life, it is because you are not seeing yourself as being valuable. You're not seeing the beauty within yourself and seeing that you have a life to live, that you have a purpose. God has a purpose for you. You have your own journey, your own walk to walk, your own life to live. Don't focus on that person. Focus on you. When you focus on yourself, you don't have time to worry about what other people are doing. Allow that situation to help you to heal and to learn what you needed to learn about yourself through that situation so that you can grow and so that you can evolve and become the best version of yourself and focus on you and your life. Focus on your goals. Focus on the areas that you need to grow in and work on that. Don't allow your ego to cause you to stay stagnant and not grow in life. Okay? So, I hope that this message has helped people. I always try to make my messages short, but it never seems to go that way, but that's okay. As long as I get out what I feel the divine wants me to get out, that's all that matters. Do the healing work. If you are someone that has been released from a relationship, do the healing work. Mourn and let go and allow that person to be free to move on. Okay, I'm out. Peace.